April 6th, 2 Samuel 4, 5, and 6. And 7. 2 Samuel 4. And the son of Saul heard that Abner had died in Hebron, and he lost heart, and all Israel was troubled. And the son of Saul had 2 men, commanders of bands, and the name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other was Rechab, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth was also reckoned to Benjamin, because the Beerothites fled to Gittayim and have been sojourners there until this day. Now Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Israel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to be, as she hurried to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. And the sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, not banana, Baanah, went and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who was laying on his bed at noon. And they came into the midst of the house to fetch wheat, and they struck him in the stomach. And Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. Thus they came into the house when he was laying on his bed in his bedroom, and they struck him and slew him and beheaded him. And they took his head and went the way of the desert plain all night, and brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron, and said to the sovereign, See the head of Ishbosheth, son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. So Yah has given my master the sovereign vengeance on Saul and his seed this day. And David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, As Yah lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress? When someone reported to me, saying, See, Saul is dead, and he was a bearer of good news in his own eyes. I then took hold of him and killed him in Ziklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wrong men have killed a righteous man in his own house, on his bed, should I not now require his blood at your hand, and remove you from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they killed him, and cut off their hands and feet, and hanged them by the pool in Hebron. And they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the burial site of Abner in Hebron. 2 Samuel 5. And all the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron, and spoke, saying, Look, we are your bone and your flesh. Formerly, when Saul was sovereign over us, you were the one who led Israel out and brought them in. And Yah said to you, Shepherd my people Israel, and be a ruler over Israel. And all the elders of Israel came to the sovereign at Hebron, and sovereign David made a covenant with them at Hebron before Yah. And they anointed David sovereign over Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 new moons. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all Israel and Judah. And the sovereign and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land. And they spoke to David, saying, Except that you take away the blind and the lame, you are not going to come here. Thinking, David is not going to come in here. But David captured the stronghold of Zion, pretty sure Zion. And David said on that day, Anyone who strikes the Jebusites, let him go by the water shaft and take the lame and the blind, who are hated by David David's being. That is why they say, the blind and the lame do not come into the house. And David dwelt in the stronghold, and called it the city of David. And David built all around from the Millo and inward. And David went on and became great, and Elohim of hosts was with him. Naharam, sovereign of Sor, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons. And they built a house for David. And David knew that Yah had established him as sovereign over Israel, and that he had exalted his reign because of his people Israel. And David took more concubines and wives from Jerusalem after he had come from Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to David. And these were the names of those born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, and Nathan, and Shilomoah, and Yibhar, and Elishua, and Iphag, and Yepiah, and Elishama, and Eliada, and Eliphalet. And the Philistines heard that they had anointed David sovereign over Israel. And all the Philistines went up to search for David. But David heard and went down to the stronghold. And the Philistines came and spread themselves out in the valley of Rephaim. And David inquired of Yah, saying, Do I go up against the Philistines? Do you give them into my hand? And Yah said to David, Go up, for I shall certainly give the Philistines into your hand. And David came to Baal Peretzim, and David struck them there. And he said, Yah has broken through my enemies before me, like a breakthrough of water. So he called the name of that place Baal Peretzim. And they left their images there, and David and his men took them away. And the Philistines came up and were spread out in the valley of Rephaim. And David inquired of Yah, and he said, Do not go up. Turn around behind them, and you shall come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. And it shall be, when you hear the sound of stepping in the tops of the mulberry trees, then act promptly. For then Yah shall go out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines. So David did so, as Yah commanded him, and he smote the Philistines from Geba as far as Gezer. 2 Samuel 6. Now David again gathered all the chosen men of Israel, 30,000. And David rose up and went with all the people who were with him from Baali, Judah, to bring up from there the ark of Elohim, that is called by the name Yah of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim. And they placed the ark of Elohim on a new wagon, and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. And Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were leading the new wagon. And they brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, with the ark of Elohim. And Aho was walking before the ark. And David and all the house of Israel were dancing before Yah, with all instruments of fir wood, and with lyres, and with harps, and with tambourines, and with sistrums, and with cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nakon, Azua reached out toward the ark of Elohim and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the wrath of Yah burned against Azua, and Elohim struck him there for the fault, and he died there by the ark of Elohim. And David was displeased because Yah had broken out against Uzziah, and he called the name of that place Peretz Azua until this day. And David was afraid of Yah on that day. and said, How shall the ark of Yah come to me? And David would not move the ark of Yah with him into the city of David, but David turned it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of Yah remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 new moons. And Yah blessed Obed-Edom and all his house. And it was reported to sovereign David, saying, Yah has blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that he has because of the ark of Elohim. David then went and brought up the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing, and that is Zion. Side note. And it came to be, when those bearing the ark of Yah had gone 6 steps, that he slaughtered bulls and fatted sheep. And David danced before Yah with all his might, and David was wearing a linen shoulder garment. Thus David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of Yah with shouting and with a voice of a shofar. I don't know if I've said this before, but shofar, it's the ram's horn trumpet, or horn trumpet. Not always ram's horn, usually. And it came to be, when the ark of Yah came into the city of David, that Michal, daughter of Saul, looked through a window and saw sovereign David leaping and dancing before Yah, and she despised him in her heart. So they brought the ark of Yah in, and set it in its place in the midst of the tent that David had pitched for it. And David brought ascending offerings before Yah, and peace offerings. And when David had finished bringing ascending offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yah of hosts. And he appointed a portion to all the people, to all the crowd of Israel, from man even to woman, to each one a loaf of bread, and a measure, and a cake of raisins. And all the people left, each one to his house. And David returned to bless his household. And Michal, daughter of Saul, came out to meet David, and said, How esteemed was the sovereign in Israel today, uncovering himself in the eyes of the female servants of his servants, as one of the foolish ones shamelessly uncovers herself. So David said to Michal, Before Yah, who chose me instead of your father and all his house, commanded me to be ruler of the people of Yah over Israel, so I danced before Yah. And I shall be even more slight than this, and shall be humble in my own eyes. But as for my female servants, of whom you have spoken, by them I am esteemed. And Milcah, the daughter of Saul, had no children to the day of her death. 2 Samuel 7. And it came to be, when the sovereign was dwelling in his house, and Yah had given him rest from all his enemies all around, that the sovereign said to Nathan the prophet, See now, I am dwelling in a house of cedar, but the ark of Elohim dwells within curtains. And Nathan said to the sovereign, Go, do all that is in your heart, for Yah is with you. And it came to be that night that the word of Yah came to Nathan, saying, Go and say to my servant David, Thus says Yah, Would you build a house for me to dwell in? For I have not dwelt in a house since the time that I brought the children of Israel up from Egypt, Mitzrayim. Even to this day, I have moved about in a tent and in a dwelling place. Wherever I have walked with all the children of Israel, have I ever spoken a word to anyone from the tribes of Israel, whom I commanded to shepherd my people of Israel, saying, Why have you not built me a house of cedar? And now say to my servant David, Thus says Yah of hosts, I took you from the pasture, from following the flock, to be ruler over my people, over Israel. And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have cut off all your enemies from before you, and have made you a great name, like the name of the great ones who are on the earth. And I shall appoint a place for my people Israel, And I shall plant them, and they shall dwell in a place of their own, and no longer be afraid. Neither shall the children of wickedness oppress them again, as at the first. Even from the day I commanded rulers over my people Israel, and have caused you to rest from all your enemies. And Yah has declared to you that he would make you a house. When your days were filled, and your rest is with your fathers, I shall raise up your seed after you, who comes from your inward parts, and shall establish his reign. He does build a house for my name, and I shall establish the throne of his reign forever. I am to be his father, and he is to be my son. If he does perversely, I shall reprove him with the rod of men and with the blows of the sons of men. But my loving commitment does not turn aside from him, as it turned aside from Saul, whom I removed from before you. And the house and your reign are to be steadfast forever before you. Your throne is established forever. According to all these words and according to all this vision, so Nathan spoke to David. And sovereign David went in and sat before Yah, and he said, Who am I, O Master Yah? And what is my house, that you have brought me this far? And yet this was a small matter in your eyes, O Master Yah. And you have also spoken of your servant's house for a great while to come. And is this the Torah of man, O Master Yah? And what more does David say to you? For you, Master Yah, know your servant. Because of your word, and according to your own heart, you have done all this greatness, and have made it known to your servant. You are great indeed, O Master Yah, for there is none like you, and there is no Elohim but you, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And who is like your people, like Israel, the one nation on the earth, whom Elohim went to ransom for himself as a people, to make for himself a name, and to do for you its greatness, and awesome deeds for your land before your people, whom you ransomed for yourself from Mitzrayim, from the nations and their mighty ones. And you have established for yourself your people Israel, as your own people forever. And you, Yah, have become their Elohim. And now, O Yah Elohim, the word which you have spoken concerning your servant and concerning his house, establish it forever, and do as you have said. And let your name be made great forever, saying, Yah of hosts is the Elohim over Israel. And let the house of your servant David be established before you. For you, O Yah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, have revealed this to your servant, saying, I build you a house. Therefore your servant has taken heart to pray this prayer to you. And now, O Master Yah, you are Elohim, and your words are true. And you have spoken this goodness to your servant. And now, be pleased to bless the house of your servant, to do before you forever. For you, O Master Yah, have spoken it, and with your blessing, let the house of your servant be blessed forever.